everybody, how you doing? And welcome to The Girl Show. My name is Kuda, and on the panel with me is Mr. Blessing, whose surname I will not attempt to even say. I've got Munya, aka number 10, and today on the show we've got a special guest, and his name is Mr. JOE MHLANGA, who is the... I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Managing editor of Behind the News Network.
Managing editor of Behind the News Network. So on the show today, we're going to talk about what everybody has been thinking about, and that is the new normal. See, we all know that Corona came and it's come to our shores and it has disturbed or changed the way that we view life in general. We can't go to school, we can't go to church, we can't go to parties, we can't go to restaurants. Now the question then begs, how we can't go anywhere really. The question that begs, how do we adjust in the new normal? How do we deal with the new normal? And how do we navigate life after the new normal? And I think it's a very relevant conversation in the space that we're in, and it's something that's worth talking about. Listen, what are your feels?
It's crazy relevant because I also feel like it's completely taken over the nature in which we exist.
Right.
Every part of our relation as human beings now has this like undertone of epidemiology that goes with it. Before we started shooting today, we were debating whether or not to do it in masks. Because we're like worried about what it means to project an image of not being socially distancing enough,
right.
not being careful enough. And these are the kinds of cautions and running precautions in our everyday actions that I feel like they rob us of the freedom to just do that we used to have. But I feel like people will also say, were you ever really free from anything? But this is a very particular, like it robs us of our choices to just act and just be. I haven't done a non-cautious thing in weeks, and I don't know if it's just me, but I sort of live for the opportunity to get on the edge of the planet and do something completely crazy without thinking twice about it, and that's what I've lost in this time overall.
And do you think, wait, just to draw that, do you think that it's the government's policy on lockdown and restrictions is, what's the word I'm looking for? Is justified, or do you feel like, well, you know what, it's here, it's done what it's done, let us get used to the new normal, open it up. It's something that we're going to live with anyway. It's like malaria. We know that it's there, but we don't go around, you know, constantly thinking, oh my God, there's a mosquito, I might get bitten. Yeah. So do you feel like the restrictions have gotten to a point where, okay, it's enough now, we need to open the economy so that we can start functioning, or must we continue within this, lockdown?
It depends. It depends if there's any success that's coming out of all the restrictions that have been put in place. How deadly is the disease? Yeah. So
well, as much as you can look at stats. The information is available. How deadly is the disease? There is 1,400 people that.
I don't know about stats.
I don't dispute weight. I don't dispute stats, right? Because initially when this thing came out, we started comparing the stats of COVID to the normal flu stats. So and then I realized that yearly there is hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people, that die from just the normal flu. Right. So this is also deadly. So when we talk about all the stats of COVID, you don't know anyone personally. Neither do you, neither do I. So how deadly is it? It's not a question I'm saying out of ignorance of ignoring the stats. No, I'm talking in terms of us reopening and going back out into the world.
Because can I stop you there?
Yeah?
When you say, I'm trying to get clarity in what you're saying. When you say you don't know anyone personally that's died of corona, are you saying that there is a possibility that the stats are manipulated? And if so, what is the motive?
No, look, the motive is to try and push the whole new normal, right? For example, because now you can only start to come up with conspiracies or whatever, or with opinions, or whatever you want to call it, right? Because if you're thinking of the fact that, look, everybody, and I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but everybody only starts to take something serious when it's hit closer to home, right? And that's fair human behavior, right? So I don't know anybody, so I start to question, like, how crazy is this thing? And besides that, if I am not showing symptoms, and if I get tested and I'm positive, what they tell me is that go home for 14 days and self-isolate, you'll be fine. So either you're telling me one of two things. Either you're saying go home and die, or you're saying this thing actually may not kill you, so you're good if you're staying at home. So I feel like the whole point of this thing, if I may call it an agenda for lack of a better word, is to just keep us home.
I have to echo in.
But wait, no, before you echo in, I want to hear what Joe's thoughts are on this whole thing. And before you address it, what I want to know is, and I want to come back to you, because if you say this thing and this conspiracy, that means that somebody has to be behind it, and there's no conspiracy with no motive. So I want us to come back and discuss what you think the motive is for locking down the economy and keeping people. Joe.
I heard you guys, it's just that how it traveled. We should look at the origin of this whole thing.
China.
We were told it's China.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we really know what happens? Do we know how to deal with it? You are told to wear a mask. In China, they've been wearing masks for 100 years, but they died. Is it the COVID-19 exactly what is killing people? I heard my brother spoke of normal flu. Is it flu normal? How normal is normal? Are we being programmed to look at things in a certain way? Yes, we are. Because we were told that this disease is deadly. Any form of disease, it will kill if the person is weak.
Right.
So now, in all those countries where we were told again, let's ask this question. How would we know all these things if there's no media? Who owns the media? What is the agenda of the media?
Yes.
Why is media finding it to itself to just tell people things?
Yes.
So that we can depend on it. So whatever they say, it's gospel.
But haven't we always depended on media anyway?
No.
It's a choice.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the media is out there. The media, the role of media is to put out information people consume.
That's what we are told, that the role of the media.
Right. So, but then we'd have to go back to defining what the role of the media is, and then
Well,
no,
that's
see.
exactly.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that means
We're worried about that.
Let me make a point. What I'm saying is that means we'd have to question everything that we've ever been told.
That's
That's a
why-
principle.
that
What
is the
is
sole
life
purpose.
without such critical?
We need to question, because now we're not questioning again. The whole world, where on earth have we heard that the world is going to be locked? Who makes that decision? We never ask them. We said it's our government. The government does not make decisions.
Right.
The rulers of the world makes the call.
But here's my question, Joe. Now, if you say that, and I need to ask, if you say that, that means that because where we got the theory or the contingency of lockdown was when it started in China. China locked down the country, right? Then it moved to the United States, and then they locked down. So everything it's learned helplessness.
For
No,
them,
Mr.
for them
Before we
to
talk
love the
about the health,
country.
guys, wait,
They were
wait,
instructed
wait,
to love
guys.
the country.
Wait.
Are you saying we were in South Africa?
You were told.
Okay, but wait, guys, and I know we want to debunk it so much to this degree, and I am happy to learn from everybody and what everybody is saying. But if you look at the information that's communicated, and part of what I'm speaking comes from the bias of the things that have been communicated to me. So please understand me. The purpose of locking things down, say for example in South Africa, is to try and contain the spread of the disease. For example,
Yes.
if you ban travel, people coming in, right? Because when we first heard about it in South Africa, it was because of those 10 people that went to Italy and whatever the case is.
Right.
So if we had opened, if we had kept the borders open, more people were going to come in, and this could perpetuate the spread of the disease. So as much as we may want to look at the meaning behind the whole lockdown and whatever and everything we've consumed and whatever, but also understand the little logic that exists behind
Okay,
it.
but I feel like what you're describing, right, is physical distancing. Close the borders, generally don't go into crowded spaces. That's keeping our bodies
Exactly,
apart.
yes, exactly.
What is the purpose of social distancing?
But
I have a problem with that term, social distancing.
Right. Tell me.
Yeah,
you see,
But before,
you see,
Joe, I need to ask you this, and I need to ask this point blank, and I need it. Do you think that the coronavirus is a conspiracy?
coronavirus exists like other viruses.
Right.
The way in which they are going about it,
It's exaggerated.
it's exaggerated.
Okay.
And there are opportunities for the elite to make a business. The whole
Thank you.
global economy, it went straight on reset. All small businesses that exist around the world are dying.
Right.
And what's going to happen with the smaller businesses? The ones that will survive will be swallowed by big corporations.
And here's my next question.
And
then.
the last corporations that will exist will only be hundreds.
Right. But
That's my point.
let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, and I need you to help me. What you're saying is that the coronavirus exists, right?
Yeah.
So there is a disease that can
Yes.
kill you within A, B, C, and D
Yeah.
if this happens, right?
No, sorry. That can the killing part.
No,
You're
what,
against it.
what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah,
but
same
what I'm
here.
trying to get at is take HIV for example, right? HIV exists, right? But within HIV, people realize that there is an opportunity to make business sense out of it. So what I'm trying to get at is, are you saying they created the virus in order for them to get this? Or the virus was already there, it existed, but somebody saw that, hey, listen, there's an opportunity here to make a little more.
But if the virus, or if we're told, or let's say the virus was there, why did it leak from the lab?
Well, most of the viruses that we know today have always been leaked or whatever. Something went wrong. Every virus is created.
But I get what Joe is saying, right? I don't know if it can help shed some light of perspective here.
Yeah.
There are viruses that have been orchestrated and created and fed into societies, and then the money has been made back in pharmaceuticals directly from the virus, right?
Yes.
Coronavirus, on the other hand, the money that stands to be made is not necessarily linked to treating the disease, or it's not about the disease.
Right. I hear what you're saying.
It's shifting where the control is.
More economical. It's right what they say.
Yeah.
Remember, South Africa was struggling with SAA. At some point, they only needed 2 billion to get it back on track. But they hired Business Rescue, who went and hired other people from the States who have failed. Then, boom, there's coronavirus. Now we have 500 million to
500 billion.
500 billion.
Right.
Billion.
Why did we take that?
All of a sudden, we have 500 billion
coming from.
So now, the coronavirus came with opportunities.
Right.
Now, this is the issue. All the businesses that closed down, most of those companies were paid money from the business, from that fund that came from the government.
Right.
But they continue to retrench people. Yet they got the money.
Right.
Yet they got the money that was in the kitty to save the businesses. But they continue to retrench people and close.
Yeah, but
so
why is that?
No money.
Yeah, Joe, why are these businesses continually retrenching people? The reason why they're doing that is because they can't sustain the business.
That's
if you gave, no, that's not the narrative. I'll tell you.
There's a bailout.
I'm telling you.
There is a bailout.
Yeah.
What is it?
If you gave me a bailout for my business today, right? I can use that money to pay for my staff for the time that they haven't been working. But it's not enough. I cannot open a restaurant in this environment because there are not people don't have money to come and spend the restaurant.
Yes, but
so I'm gonna close.
People are not even allowed to come to the
People are not even allowed to come to the restaurant. So whether or not you give me money or not.
The question is, the money that they were given was supposed to sustain them for that period. So use that money for that period until you open. Where on earth they ever challenge the states to say, we can't survive with this amount of money. So what people are doing, they take the money, they kick down.
100%.
That's what they're doing.
Well, it's to be honest, Joe, it's survival.
But coming back to what he was saying, his point was, it was not necessary for a treatment. It became, because the money that was announced, all of a sudden now, small businesses will just claim 50,000 rand, people are going to do this. You walk into all the government offices, there's tenders for furniture. Some people bought cars that were posted in social media worth 10 million because they were given a job to sanitize, to do all these things.
Right.
So you can see.
But Joe, you can't take away. But here, if you say that, you can't take away from the greed of a human being. If I give you the human nature in itself, Joe, let me tell you. Can I just say, if you give me money, right, to a tender to put a road, right? If I'm not a disciplined man, right, I'm gonna take that money. I'm still gonna buy those cars. So you can't say that people are benefiting because of Corona money specifically. If I'm a thief, I'm a thief. If I'm a scammer, I'm saying people have been behaving like this anyway. If you give a dishonest man money, whether this money was meant for PPE equipment, whether this money was meant to construct a road, if in his nature he's a scammer, he is going to scam you anyway.
But what we're saying now, in this case, we know that people were supposed to be protected. They did not even deliver. This is what I'm talking about.
With the government or the companies?
With all the government. Those guys that were given the 120 million worth of jobs. Point I was trying to make is to support what he said, that this whole thing now became another opportunity for something else, and it's even growing bigger. Where we were told that we're in recession. How are we in recession yet people are just playing with things like that?
But what do you say about the guys that are standing on the road selling masks? That was an opportunity for them. There's guys that are selling masks out of their houses and selling masks.
Of course,
that's the smallest thing.
Yes, no, I understand that. The point I'm trying to make is that if we and I'm not trying. I'm not saying.
Because now he said something very important.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it's not a conspiracy, right? But I'm saying let's not be one-sided in looking at it. Because I don't want us to also ignore the real fact. Because I don't want the things that we talk about today for people to get up and say, it's a conspiracy, let's go out, and then people die. Because there's people that have lost real people because of corona. I know a guy in Zimbabwe, Zororo Makaba, and he died of corona. A guy my age, he died. He came from the States. He was quarantined for 14 days. He went to a hospital. He died. Young guy.
And he was like
he
was missions before.
No, 100%. This guy
he had an underlying problem.
That
Remember
made him
that.
more susceptible.
He had
Thank
an
you.
underlying problem.
Thank you.
He did not only have corona. He had an underlying problem.
How old did you know him before?
So I'm saying, I left on the 23rd. We did a show at SABC on the 23rd of December. I had flu. I left on the 24th. I was in China. Till when? 1st or 2nd of January this year.
Right.
And that disease broke out in China 16th of November 2019.
Yes, true.
You understand?
Right.
So in the city where I was, the whole world goes there. I didn't have anything and I flew. Most of the times that I was there. So my point was, some of the things that we are told are not exactly there.
Right.
For example, the World Health Organization chief came and said, there's no need for a mask if you're not sick.
Yeah, that's true.
24 hours later, no, you must wear a mask.
Right.
The information kept
You
changing.
understand?
No mask,
Yeah.
no entry.
No, the famous Dr. Fuji said, no, the mask will not give you oxygen because you say you recycle the same, and then you come back. So no, wear a mask. In fact, it's safer. But if you see, stay at home.
Do you think perhaps after he had said these things, when he came back and changed his story, is because somebody else may have interfered?
Okay. We also need to understand that how the world is run. There are principles of the governments are just in small entities of people that you just control.
Right.
There are the serious people who will dictate how things should go. How on earth was this event coordinated in the whole world to shut? Who was driving that? Who interest does that save?
And that's what my question is,
So-
Joe.
so that is why
Who
I'm
is going
saying-
to benefit
so-
from
so-
all this?
so
Because
that-
there's no conspiracy with no motive.
So that is
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Not so long ago, Bill Gates was negotiating a $120 million US deal for contact and tracing,
Yeah, for surveillance.
for surveillance.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to say, this is one guy who is nothing, who's just a technician, but he has so much power. Who gave him the power? Because his father subscribed into the Rockefeller orbit. He was part of that crew. So these are the things that we need to understand, that the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers sit and dictate what we should do.
Joe, do you think that after this discussion, do you think that it's okay to move around with no mask, to tell people that this thing doesn't exist? It's a conspiracy against governments for people to make money and for a few elites to
can
benefit.
say- you can
because
say that's
because
clear.
what's
You can
important,
say-
guys, we have to understand that whenever we're given a platform to speak, right, we have to
Yes.
understand that the things that we say have got a direct impact to people that are sitting at home.
Yes.
So what message are we giving people? Are we saying that, guys, listen, open your eyes, read the news? I mean,
Before Joe speaks, because Joe's got too much knowledge, right? I just want to give my stupid opinion. I think maybe they are trying to usher in a new industrial revolution.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like, and from what Joe was also saying, that the small companies are going to be pushed out and moved out. And ultimately, there will be only big companies, the 100, like he was saying. So this is going to create a new way to control people, the surveillance, right? The way people will be employed and who goes to work and so on and so forth. I feel that this is what's being ushered in.
But Munya, can I ask a question? If you wanted to kick out small businesses, out of operating, right?
Yeah.
All you have to do is change the law. Like if you wanted to shut down
That's
free,
definitely what is
Yeah.
happening.
yeah.
Yeah, but that's you. But that's you thinking like
You can't
that.
change the law without crisis. You must remember,
It takes
That's
long.
the
the
Rockefeller-
Rockefeller,
Don't get excited.
Boom,
Relax.
boom, boom, boom.
Bring yourself to order, please.
Coffee.
Bring
So
yourself
David Rockefeller said, never let good crisis go to waste.
because it's an opportunity.
Then the other guy who works for him, by the name of Warren Buffett,
Yeah.
you make money when there's blood dripping in the streets.
Right, because people are desperate.
Exactly. So when you want to deal with someone, for instance, let me give you a perfect example.
Yeah.
Maybe some of you are young.
Yeah.
When I watched Mike Tyson fight,
Yeah.
we knew that if you're buying a ticket to go to Las Vegas, if you're 3 seconds late, you'll meet people going.
Because he's already done with the fight.
It's done.
Right.
So somebody had to sit and watch this guy. Said, okay, if I can dance, I will beat this guy. So they started understanding how they took a model from his
From
role
him,
model.
from him,
No,
right.
they took from Ali.
Right.
Because
Right.
Ali
That's a
will
good
dance
point.
with you.
Right.
You go all the way, he will let you. So
Oh, I see where you're going
the
with
likes
this.
of people
Yeah,
who
yeah.
defeated him. Evander Holyfield was perfect. He knew that this young man will come at me. So I ran. So he ran, round one. Then Mike Tyson was,
Now he's out of his element.
he
Right.
had to lock. So there was no movement. So this guy said, okay, now because we ran out of ideas, now I'm coming for you. So he felt it because he only had plan A. No B, no C, no D. Because he knew, in the first round you're out.
Right.
One punch, you're out. So in that case, if somebody else planned different, then you are defeated.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Feel you.
so this is how.
So you're saying that people
So please,
use crisis.
Joe, please bring the conclusion about why are they doing this?
Why are they doing this?
Okay.
What is the motive behind it?
So,
And why?
so the whole agenda, it's going to, you can't control people if you don't have a control for money, if you don't have a control for oil,
Yeah.
if you don't have control for food.
Yeah.
All these things forms part of economy. Without all these things now, ask yourself who's controlling the oil? The Rockefeller family. Why is America the biggest consumer of oil? Do you guys know?
Well, they say that they need it because, look, they don't have a reserve for it. They need it for energy purposes.
No.
They need it for,
No.
I don't know.
They are the biggest consumer of oil because they have navy. The biggest consumer of oil in the world is the American Navy. Because they have 2,100 army bases around the world. Russia has 3 bases around
So
the
you're
world.
telling me they're only extracting oil in order
That's
to
all- that's
feed
all-
the Navy,
the Navy.
For the
Yeah,
Navy,
the
which is for war.
Which is for war. Yeah.
To continue and bully other countries and make their empire grows bigger.
Because it's about resources.
Yeah.
You can't fight a war with no
Yeah.
resources. They're going to run out.
So they can't do all of that. If there's little, if he is growing,
Yeah.
he's gonna be a challenge to me.
I have a question,
must
Joe. I have a
control-
question,
Whoa.
Joe. I have a question. So are you saying that every day, countries like this, like America, if they're trying to get control of the oil and so that they can beef up their military or whatever, are we subconsciously or are they preparing for war that we don't know?
Yes.
No, we're
You see-
in that.
when you
war.
see now,
But
No, they're not in the war.
Okay,
It's
what
not
up?
I'm not talking about a disease war. I'm talking about an actual
actual-
war
let
of arms.
me make you.
Because this
But
is
we've
arms.
done that. Now we've
No,
been
no, 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 no.
war
These people are
mind.
getting
It's like
armed.
sexual
They're
war.
getting armed.
Let me make you aware. As now this, if now everything is busy with this corona nonsense, American Navy is moving towards Venezuela. They are busy cycling Venezuela. Hence the
On the case of
Iranian ship
Venezuela,
move.
but on the case of Venezuela, right? So Venezuela has been given sanctions by the US, right? Now, Venezuela had oil that was going to where? To Iran, right? And they had Venezuelan soldiers guarding that tanker, and that tanker passed through American ports. But they were protected by Iran. And this conversation came up when we were discussing how Iran and America ended up bombing each other at that time when that guy was killed, the guy was killed in Iraq. But so why didn't America stop the tanker moving from there all the way to Iran?
But wait,
why
guys,
did that?
before
we go into American
guys,
conspiracies
before
all
we
day.
guys, let me tell you, I think we need to bring it down. We
No,
need to bring it back to Corona. Joe, let me. No. Joe, you know what? The reason why I want to take it back to the core discussion that we're having is because we can get lost in American conspiracies, and there's a lot. My question to you is, why would the...
We need to.
But Joe, here's my question to you. Why would the disease, right? Let's say this is an American conspiracy. Why would it originate from China?
Remember, America funded 7.8 billion US dollars to the laboratories in Wuhan. They funded those projects. Remember,
What was the Chinese government when all this was
This is
being done?
happening.
no,
In
remember
collaboration.
they were working together.
Trade.
Remember,
Everything started to go sour when the trade talks went sour. Is it or is it not?
okay.
So,
Let's understand this, guys. There's 4 wars that are happening currently. There's war number 1, US versus China. War number 2, US versus Russia. War number 3, Rockefeller versus the Rothschild family. War number 4 is the currency war, where the currencies are fighting to collapse one big currency that we don't know how it was created, how it became the world power, called a dollar.
right.
So in all of these things, the war that happens between London and New York, when New York decides to put Corona for their own control, now London is responding with the protests. Every country where you see the active protest, we look at the central banking. it's the Rothschild family.
Yes.
Right.
So you need to look at all of that. So the Rockefeller project is the coronavirus, because now elections are coming.
Yeah.
Now the Democrats, who are mostly funded by the Rothschild family, have to undermine the Republicans.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So they can unseat. At the same time, Hillary Clinton and the
Is she running, first of all?
the cases,
She's not running.
they're trying to destroy everything that the Democrats are doing. While the Democrats are fighting with the Rockefellers. So the coronavirus is within that.
Right.
They will agree to say we're doing this, but as they see how Trump is behaving towards this, there are things that Trump is doing, like for the Americans.
Yes.
Then London is not really liking that, because they're pushing the Democratic Party
Right.
for their own business, for their own agenda.
It's a mind blown.
Yes.
Look, my mind is blown. I'm imagining that so are the minds of our viewers and our people at home. And I want you to understand something real quick, right?
Yeah.
What we're dealing with is two parallel streams of consciousness and understandings.
Yes.
You need to understand the health ramifications of an epidemic and what it truly means to be taking care of yourself, what it truly means to be careful and cautious and either sick or recovering. Then there is part two, which is the
economical one.
Exactly, which comes
and see,
into this
the reality is that the people on the ground, I'm talking about everyday people that are going out to jobs, they're not privy to this information. They don't know the difference between a Democrat and a Republican. They don't know anything about the Russian war or Venezuela or the tankers or the oil. So Joe, we need to be able, so who gets the platform in order to get this info? I mean, I was talking to you earlier on and you said to me, Kuda, if you want to relate to somebody, don't go there, start where they are. So how are you going
right
to...
now you're here.
Yeah, right now what you're talking about, Joe, is
To be real.
here.
To be
I'm
real,
talking
Joe.
to people...
I'm there with you. I'm there with you.
But there's only 100 of you in South Africa, right? But here's the thing: people are not going in. People are being stopped. I mean, I was in commercial yesterday. The guard almost ran after me. Where's your mask? You mask. You know, and for me, if I want to be as educated as you, Joe, I'll be like, do you know that this is about oil? This mask doesn't matter. This guy's he's gonna look at me like I'm crazy. So how do we bring it down? How do we bring it down, Joe? We need to bring it down to everyday people that are watching us, to say to them, how do we bring it down? How do we get people thinking in this manner? How do we get people not to think that what we're saying is that, because I promise you, what you don't want to do is you don't want to tell people that this thing is a conspiracy and whatever, and then people are like, no, these guys told us you don't need a mask. You know what I mean? Because people still need to feel comfortable. People still need to be able to function. I mean, I always talk about the locking of a door, and I always give this scenario that, you lock a door not because of thieves, you lock a door for yourself. Because for you to feel better. Yeah. Because there's no thief that does this to a door and they say, it's locked, we'll come back tomorrow. But you see, in your mind, you're like, but I locked the door. So that it feels good. Because there's no thieves that go back and say, no, this door was locked, so we'll try again.
But that's doing bare minimum. That's doing what's
exactly, and that's what people are doing with these masks. People want to feel like they're being safe, just in case Joe and Kuda and Blessing are wrong. This is not a conspiracy. People are dying.
But we also need to understand that as we spoke about the programming, we are being programmed. There are certain things that people need to be aware. And I'm glad that in most cases, this period where people are sitting at home, I've noticed that the trends have changed. People have been more aware. People have been watching the news more.
True.
Yes.
People have been reading more.
Yes.
So there's positivity.
So there are certain things that people on themselves, they took upon themselves to say, you know what, we're not going to sit back. It's time. And it all came because there was crisis. They became hungry. So now, it was not necessarily about the stomach. It became the knowledge that they needed.
True.
Remember, there's a subject in geopolitics that we call it the empires of the mind. The empires of the mind operate where they have to watch Utatako, they have to watch this. So they end up captured by those. And then they forget. Remember what the Roman Empire said. You give them the stadium, you give them the car, they won't revolt. Give them what they want, they won't revolt. So now, because we did not necessarily get what we want, we start to revolt by starting to learn how the real world looks,
right?
How things are starting to happen.
True.
So
we thought that we couldn't live without meeting our friends and going out there. And you realize that there is life within Corona. And I think just to conclude, I think what you're saying is very important. That the conversations that we should be having are let's say another pandemic comes in the next 20 years.
Are we
In
prepared?
this business that I'm starting, will I be able to survive?
Right,
exactly.
Right. And I think that's. I mean, anybody else have the parting word before I conclude?
No,
this?
no, I think I'm good. I wanna let this sink in. I just wanna, take a small break.
100%. I obviously
Breathe.
have parting words. I just think everybody needs to be in a space to conscientize themselves and be aware that in a space where media entities are aware that you're consuming them so much more, they're obviously getting ahead of that trend and making sure that their content can be more click-worthy and like clickbaity than the rest.
Yeah.
So you also need to critically consume your media and be able to sift out what is fact, what is truth, what is useful, and what's being used to control you.
Thank you so much, Blessing. As I think that the biggest lesson for me in this whole thing was how you're going to think outside the what's it called? The pandemic.
Yeah.
And that whatever business that you start, however you're thinking, however you're planning to navigate, it has to be something that is going to be essential should something like this happen again. And it's conversations that are necessary to have, sometimes uncomfortable to our viewers, sometimes a little bit confusing, but it's very, very important. Wherever you are, please do stay safe. Thank you so much. This is The Girls Show, and I hope that if you guys have any questions, any comments, please do hit us up our page on social media. Please tell them the handles.
I wish I knew the handle off by heart, but I think it's The Girl Show _ZA.
So it on Instagram it's at girlshow_SA and on Twitter as well.
And on Twitter. Until the next one, we'll see you soon.
Peace and
Ta-da.
love.
Out.